and start seeing some interesting dynamics and results. We have to the bottom right hand side the pink Zerg player representing Meltdown nowadays. It is Stephano. And he is going up against the red Protoss player to the lower left hand side of the map from Psystorm Gaming. Strange. Why does it keep doing this? It keeps doing this thing where when I zoom, it gets stuck on certain positions, like here. It's like, no, destroying my introductions. Well, not destroying them, but creating some mild inconvenience, I suppose. GLHF Strange, says Stephano to open up with. Have fun, says Strange. We will just see the hatchery dropping down, Nexus dropping down as well. And as we set up here into the early stages, gateway just going to be dropping down. And the probe just going to move over to the right hand side of the map. So Strange is going to move on over to the right, and we're going to be seeing the hatch gas pool opening here from Stephano. Nothing too crazy, nothing too ridiculous. Just nice standard stuff to begin with. I mean, Protoss vs Zerg really does have this sort of very kind of standard way to go for the first 2 or 3 minutes of the game. I mean, as do most matchups, really. But I'd say PvZ is the matchup in which you're least likely to see something crazy happening within the first couple of minutes. Like, in TvZ, there's Reapers, there's Roach Ravager sort of pushes that happen very quickly sometimes, for example. And I mean, in PvZ, there's like, you can see some proxy hatches, but it's very much so dependent on the player, I guess, more so than, you know, a lot of players will throw out a 3x but a lot of players will mess around with a bit of a Roach heavy opening or something. But I feel like a proxy hatch in ZvP is something which you'll see Scarlet do a lot, but you'll see Stephano do almost never, I think. So it's one of these matchups where there really isn't too much kind of diversity early game usually. I mean, you don't really see early pools anymore because, I mean, sometimes you do, but they kind of very rarely work out just because of the likelihood of the Protoss player scouting. We're going to see a little bit of a kind of a switch up here with a double gate from Strange, which is obviously very nice, but it still kind of brings you to the same sort of position, you know, whether it's a Nexus first double gate or double gate into Nexus first, or just a gate into Nexus and then tech. It kind of gives you the same position, you know, nothing too much changes. In this situation, we're going to see a good amount of economy from Strange with this very early Nexus. And with the double gateway, he's going to be able to get a lot of units out early, so he will be building up some early gateway units. And this, of course, will make the next couple of minutes of the game perhaps a bit more interesting. The Stalker will go after the Overlord, which scouts through the main. In the meantime, we do just see the Adept sitting down on the low ground, just looking to become part of the wall and to get going in the next couple of moments too. So the Adept is going to sit in part of the wall, and he's going to be seeing the Stargaters coming up to being about halfway done. Ling's starting to run across over to the left hand side, and it's going to be seeing the Stalker just patrolling at the edge of the base here. So Stalker patrols at the edge of the base, and yeah, just going to see the Lings hitting speed and continue to run over to the left hand side. One Zergling pops up. I'll get popped down, and we are going to be seeing the Oracle just going to be Corona boosting out of this Stargate here. So Oracle on the way out initially. You're going to see an Evolution Chamber is dropping down, just finishing up, allowing Stephano to go into that +1 melee playstyle, which we've been seeing quite a lot of. Lingbane has been around for a while. It's actually kind of funny. I mean, I think back to when I first saw sort of a Lingbane Roach sort of plays, and I think the first time I really saw that was Snoot kind of making it very popular during the NSL. That was in September of last year, which is, you know, about 7 months ago now, and since then we really have just seen so much more Lingbane play. And I say Lingbane playing because before that sort of stage there was Hydrabane. So it's not like we'd never seen kind of Baneling-based compositions before, but Hydrabane was played very differently to kind of Lingbane, I would say, and it created a very different dynamic to it in general, mostly because of the way the Protoss player was playing as well. But it wasn't quite the sort of Lingbane Hydra we'd see nowadays, so it's interesting to see kind of, though, still how kind of the Banes and Lings are still such a core unit in the matchup, and that this still is the way players kind of move towards pretty much all the time. As this Phoenix will shoot down an Overlord on the left-hand side and continue to move around. We'll come down to the south and we'll pick off an Overlord down here as well. There's actually a lot of Overlords out on the map, so Stephano he's going to be losing a few of these. I mean, he doesn't really have a way to save these two. There's another one up here, there's another one up here, which, I mean, obviously it depends if the Phoenix finds them, but so far, this Phoenix is going to go up to 3 kills. And you expected to maybe find 2, you know, one Overlord towards the main, one towards the natural. I mean, but considering the main Overlord went down early to the Stalker, the fact that this Phoenix is going to have 3 kills on it very shortly is a little bit concerning. Meanwhile, Adepts push through the center of the map. The Twilight Council came up behind the Stargate, and Resonating Glaives has now finished, allowing these Adepts to fire that little bit faster, and just making them that little bit deadlier. However, Stephano does have Banelings, and the Adepts will not shade too far forwards there, just not going to risk their lives. You don't get much vision when you shade with the Adepts. You can see it right here, for example. He doesn't really see much unless you're right next to those units, so he doesn't want to shade into a position he's not too sure about. He's just trying to pick up any information he can, apply pressure, which forces Stephano to make units rather than drones, and after the pressure has been applied, he backs away, keeping all of his units alive and ready to go for a larger attack later, feeling as though, you know, because he's forced out units from Stephano, feeling as though the economy of Stephano will not be so great. We'll see a couple of Pylons coming down, and we'll see Temple Archives dropping down from Strange in the back of this base as well. A couple of Queens do start to work their way through a Phoenix here, and the Phoenix has taken a little bit more damage, as it's been successful, man. 3 kills, this Overlord does end up staying alive, which is obviously great, because, I mean, you lose many more Overlords, and Stephano will just continue to build Overlords and nothing else until he gets killed. But, as it stands, I mean, the Hydra Den coming down from me, he's going to switch up into Hydra Bane. I mean, if you don't go for the Roaches initially as a defense, Hydras nowadays are considered generally to be just straight up stronger and better than the Roach Ravager, to kind of complement the Slingbane playstyle. It's just because nowadays the Hydras have a bit more health, a bit chunkier, and while they still do go down pretty fast, the whole idea is that Bane protects those Hydras for a good amount of time and keeps them alive. As you see, another High Templar just going to be warped in here. The HD's just sat down to the third base. Adepts still moving around, seeing where they want to go. And just going to be seeing the upgrades continue from Stephano as well. Again, I mean, he's been under pressure, he's been attacked here early, and he's been forced to make units, but he's not been kind of doing too much else himself. He's just been droning up, getting towards that 70-ish worker count. Now for the first time, really, he starts to move onto the map. He will actually send a Ling up here, and he will be able to block that Nexus from building, which is already pretty nice. A couple more Lings coming up here. And so these few probes that are trying to mine already are in a little bit of trouble. He gets a second probe kill just at the very end of that Ling's lifetime. And that's going to be Stephano again, just getting the idea that his opponent wants to go up into the 4 bases. I mean, this is one of the maps, Newcake Precinct, where we could see a much longer game. Very easy to take multiple bases, very easy to keep expanding forwards and to solidify certain positions, making it even more difficult for your opponents to move into positions themselves. So, there's a few possibilities. We do see a Stasis Ward dropping down here, Strange. Again, just solidifying this position out the front, so they can protect all 3 and 4 of his bases. He's already taken down the rocks as well, very preemptively, just to make sure that this back pathway is less likely to be utilized. And obviously for now he just wants to knock down the rocks. Later, I mean, it just gives him the time to do something like this, setting up the cannons so that he is safer from kind of run-bys through this top side, because apart from run-bys through that top side, he defends pretty much everything by controlling this choke point right here. You know, obviously some units can hit there, but then there's a wall of cannons, so the only real way for Stephano to get anywhere is through this alleyway, which isn't going to happen. And then you can see why it becomes such a split map sort of scenario, because if the only way Stephano can get towards Strange's bases is through here, and Strange then takes this base here, and then all of a sudden Stephano is, you know, just kind of being, you know, continually pushed back and unable to move further forwards. Now obviously that depends on the fact that, you know, where Steven Strange has an army that can stand up against an onslaught of Stephano, and it makes Stephano not want to move on in. So we'll see if that's going to be the case. And it looks as though it will be. Stephano is going into the hive. He's going straight in towards the Greater Spire. He's not wasting time at all and just taking up towards the Broodlords. So while he is sort of maxed out here on the Lingbane Hydra, he doesn't really want to move forwards and trade just yet, because he would rather just save his money to really make a reasonable number of Broodlords when he gets that Greater Spire up in the near future. And Strange is obviously quite happy to play this longer game. +1 air weapons and fleet beacon dropping down. Looks as though he's just continuing to set up here and see where he can go. As again, Lingbane Hydra coming in towards the center, looking to see what's going on. The Lings do just get hit by a stasis ward there, so he's getting caught up a little bit. I mean, nice to kind of set off on just a few Lings, though. It's actually kind of hard to punch just a few Zerglings like this, and even if he does pick them off, I mean, they're very expendable for Stephano. It's about 200 minerals, which at this stage of the game, I mean, it's not free, but it's not exactly a huge deal when you're mining over 3,000 a minute. These Lings will indeed go down. You can see Strange is just pushing forwards into that next base, as we alluded to. So he's just going to be, again, taking another expansion and, again, continue to push forwards into this position, which is going to be so very powerful for him in the near future. 2 Stargates coming on down over in the main base, and again, Lingbane Hydra just still gathering on up. Spines are going to drop down the front as well. All of these hallucinated Phoenix from Strange going to come through the south side. They're going to be jumping in towards the main bases. Still firing away here. And we are going to be seeing the, again, hallucinated Phoenix just getting cleaned up nice and quickly. So hallucinated Phoenix continue to take some damage, and we're just going to be seeing, again, more Spine Spores just building up together. His army still gathering out the front, and it's going to be seeing Strange looking with the Oracle to hit a Revelation. Going into plenty of Tempests, and of course, just we've seen him for a while now, setting up in towards the later stages of this game, basically, which is to move towards the kind of the Sky Toss playstyle. Just kind of aware of the fact that Stephano is not being aggressive, that he isn't looking to attack, so he's taking that opportunity to tech up here, and so far, it's going okay, I guess. I mean, obviously he's not died, so he's going to get the tech up to deal with the Broods. I do wonder, though, if Stephano just doesn't, like, this sounds strange, but what if he just doesn't make Brood Lords? What if Stephano, instead of making Brood Lords here, just says, you know what? How about I just attack you with Lingbane Hydra? Now, it's going to be awkward as we do see this army moving forwards because there's a lot of cannons up, but the Tempest will not be as useful here against Lingbane Hydra as you might sort of expect. We're going to see a couple of Immortals getting pulled off initially. A bit of a mistake by Strange. Depth's going to come up through the top side of the map as well, so they're going to shade on forwards. As you just see those things getting pushed away. But he's going to be able to pick those depths off. So good couple of ones from Stephano. I mean, at the same time, Strange is just opening up his supply to build carriers, etc. Stephano for a little bit of a vain run by in towards his mineral line over here. Cannons are doing a pretty good job of closing down the majority of it, but he does kill off the Nexus. 10 probes as well. Obviously threw a lot of Banes at that, but considering his economy and considering he wants to get some more kind of Broodlords and Corruptors up, then he does need to free up supply somehow. So, you know, throwing Banes at a Nexus to kill workers and the Nexus is not maybe as bad of an idea as it seems. So this wasn't so terrible as we see Stephano again splitting up his units because he knows he wants to kind of open up supply. If he's going to fight against the Sky Toss army, initially I thought he might try and hit it timing just before there was a lot of Sky Toss. As more of it comes up, he needs to just be able to have the correct composition, which is going to be a mixture of Vipers, Infestors, Corruptors, some Hydras on the ground as well. They all have their own little kind of niche, which helps you to defend against this sort of army. The Side Templar need to be careful. Some Lings are right next to them there, and yes, they're cloaked, but man, if some Banes got blown up next to them, that would be goodbye to all of those storms with Strange has been saving up energy for throughout this game. And I mean, the difference between having, like, what, 5 storms or whatever in your army, 10 storms in your army, obviously, plus 2 storms per Templar. The difference between 10 storms in your army and no storms in your army is pretty darn huge, so that's something Strange does want to be a bit cautious about, as we see multiple Infestors coming in from Stephano, also upgrading the Neural Parasite, looking to go in towards that potential to kind of mind control some of the Protoss units here as he moves on forwards. As Stephano cleans out the rocks to the south side, that's going to be his final base of the map being taken, more or less. Unless at some point he's somehow able to take one of Strange's bases, which is unlikely, I would say. It's possible. It's possible. It depends how the game develops in the near future. Depends how much static defense Stephano sets up, but as it stands at the moment, both players are just saying and signing a treaty, saying, right, okay, we're going late game. We are macroing, we are going into this, and I'll see you in another 5-10 minutes when we are both full of kind of high-tech units and all the rest of it now. More carriers being added on. A few Voids as well. I mean, Void Rays will be important. The Void Rays are a way in which you can get rid of the Corruptors a little bit more easily, as you can see the Triple Prism Hallucination going through to the south side of the army. I mean, that's not really going to be much of a threat. I don't know if Stephano... I mean, obviously the Prisms are just here to kind of, you know, fake. Sort of fake. I mean, can you really fake when you're flying 3 of them together? He just wants to scout out a little bit, so... Stephano, he's not going to fall for it. I mean, there's no way he didn't see those on the mini-map. There's no way. I mean, it's one of those things where maybe one Prism would have been a good idea, actually. Vipers down to the south side, get some, you know, harassment, I say in quotation marks, going, because it's not obviously going to harass, but it might pull some units out of position, which could be a nice little way to... I don't know. I mean, he's not really in a position where he wants to take advantage of, you know, a position on the map, so maybe later, though, could be a thing. Anyways, meanwhile, we just see Stephano is moving around. Now he does go in towards the main base, but nothing coming over there. Drone's going to transfer down to this low ground as well, and again, Stephano saturating pretty much all the bases. Top right, very far top side bases. Not taken just yet. Strange 2 going to expand up here. That's 15 minutes in, and we have seen both players just taking pretty much every base on the map now. The only one missing really is this bottom left side, which blocked by the rocks with a bit of Stephano's army here, and just in general in the wrong position to defend. That's the base that Strange will really not take probably until like the 25-minute marker or something. Like, he really is going to want to mine out from pretty much all of the bases first, because to defend this base to the south, you need to be able to kind of position your army to the south side, where obviously right now that's not going to happen because he has so much to protect on the north side of the map. So it's a little bit of a interesting one. Look at all these cannons, by the way. What on earth? I don't even know if that's a good idea. Like, imagine if some Banes just roll into that. They're going to get blown up so quickly because they're all so tightly clumped up together. They're pretty much just walls off. I mean, have you ever actually seen a wall of cannons? I mean, maybe once or twice, but this is like next level wall of cannons. Strange. I'm crazy up to this offside. Not sure why our FPS is low, by the way, guys. It's really weird because like I just shouldn't have FPS issues. Why is my FPS like 30? Doesn't make sense. Kyber Bane gonna roll onto the south side. I mean, it's been kind of setting up this attack for a long time, and now he will just trade these units out. So he can rebuild again into most likely more Corruptors and just more air-based units, which he's hoping to fight with. He's actually going to make 7 Corruptors and then mostly Lings afterwards. And we'll see, maybe he wants to use the Lings to attack in. He may want to try and come down here for Lings, actually. Try and run by and hit this base or something. Very possible now he's cleaned up a little bit of the initial kind of defenses. Still can't quite get over this wall of cannons up here to the top side, so that's pretty interesting as these outs moving around looking to see where they want to get up to. And again, I mean, it's going to come down to kind of Stephano's late game control. We actually have like a static this is like the thing that the cinematics are made of, isn't it? Like spores, spines against cannons. See Brutal's going Tempested. I don't know what the right word for that quite is, but it's going to take a little bit of damage over there. These Lings and a few Hydras again doing a little bit more than you might expect. Lings with Adrenal Glands and upgrades are pretty darn powerful, and they are going to be able to do quite a lot of them in this direction, so going to be continuing to harass again. It pulls Strange out of position a little bit. I mean, Strange's army is not designed right now to be running around the map into different locations, defending against little attacks like this from Stephano. It's not designed like that at all, as we're going to be seeing more spines and spores just going to start burrowing. And there's going to be seeing a few more units still pushing forward. The cannons here working their way through these spines once again, and the Broodlings taking quite a beating, but I guess eventually they will just make their way through these cannons. Tempest coming forward though, and they do have the range with the Revelation down on this army to the south side. Now Zealots are fighting against the Spores on the south. How many Spores are there on the map? 47 cannons versus 48 cannons and 48 Spore Crawlers. It's kind of funny how much there is right now, as the Brutal is still trying to fight through this direction. A little bit of a dance going on. The single Infestor has not been revelated, and so he has maybe got the potential to land the Fungal of the Century. He goes to grab it. Doesn't really get much value out of it just yet, though. Here we go, though. Corruptors and Hydras moving on forward. My computer's going to die, apparently. I don't know, man. They shouldn't be dying. Anyways, we see the fight continue to happen. Recall away, as it is Stephano, who's obviously scaring Strange enough to push him back like this. More Corruptors on the way out. I'm surprised by the lack of Corruptors right now, actually. Like, there really doesn't seem to be that many of them. How many have died? Only 8? Where's the rest of the Corruptors? Is that all the Corruptors he had? Wow. I mean, that doesn't really seem like doesn't really seem like the right amount of Corruptors at all. Like it, I don't know. Doesn't really, I feel as though you should have way more Corruptors, like 20, 30. I mean, I know he's got a lot of Hydras still, but without the Corruptor count, how are you ever going to take down any of this? Like, the Hydras are nice, a few of them to support is great, but I'm still surprised. The other thing is as well, I think Stephano's maybe just missing out on Vipers, the potential to maybe abduct in, or just even kind of fungal parasitic bomb combo. so many different possibilities here. So see Stephano into the south side. He will Neural Parasite the Mothership Core, but unfortunately it's a little bit too late to do too much there. And yes, Neural Parasite is something we're going to see Stephano continue reaching towards and looking to utilize this. Going to pull his spores back a little bit, just reposition them here, slightly more towards the center of the map. And 20 minutes into game 1 of this second best of 3 of the day, we're starting to get the indication that this might be a bit of a longer series than the first series that we saw between Gumiho and Insane. And just in case you guys are enjoying this game, well, don't worry, because I believe it's Proxima Station for map number 2, which of course is pretty much just the ideal map to do this exact sort of thing on once more. So it's pretty interesting. You're going to see some Lings and Hives to the south side now. Going to come forwards and going to be just pushing a little bit back yet again. Just little bits and pieces. Stephano back to the north is again trying to work his way through these cannons, which have been rebuilt to some extent. A little bit afraid of the Tempest though, firing away from a distance. Doesn't want to throw away too many more Brutals once more. Ling run back to this south side base. I'm surprised that at this point, Strange is putting so much more money into reinvesting cannons, etc. into this location, because I think the reality is at this point, I mean, what's really left here? Like, literally 80 gas. He's about to mine out of this simulator right now. And this simulator is not really too long to follow. And he's also defending, like, he's defending about 1,000 minerals, but all these pylons and cannons he's putting down here, I mean, that's going to cost more than 1,000 minerals. Obviously, I guess the real reason is that he wants to just defend the entirety of this line, basically, which he's got set up of cannons. So he wants to defend this entire line. And you see pylons and cannons set up once again. So he doesn't want any way for Stephano to basically puncture his defenses and to break through into the back, into the natural, this base over here. Just so Stephano can't start running around, killing off tech, and just starting to force again what is a very slow moving Colossus army out of position to then take advantage of in other locations. The third shield upgrade of the game is on the way up. I love the fact there's just a High Templar in like every base, by the way. Just in case an attack comes in, he's just going to have a couple of storms to help along the way. It's a very, it's obviously, it's not actually that much supply to invest into the back bases. I mean, one temple here, one temple there, that's it. I mean, it's only 2 bases he's done it for, because the rest of the bases he's very far forwards to defend anyways. Revelation on the Brood Lord once again as cannons are again being sieged up by the Broods. Here come the Tempest though, and well, the Queen this time around will help to keep the Broods alive. A lot of the cannons going down actually, some heavy losses for Strange. He will once again look to rebuild these shortly. Infestor's looking for the Neural Parasite. He does get a Fungal Growth here, and now he's going to start Neural Parasiting, but I mean, the Infestor's just going to be dying so quickly, I feel. You can see the feedback's coming down, and just the rest of the damage being done. More Neural Parasites dropping down wherever possible. He somehow grabbed the High Templar over here. He's going to maybe drop Storms with it. I don't know what he's going to try and do. Stephano, though, is the one who's losing out on supply, and he's the one who's already rebuilding as well. Mothership Core will be called back slightly. Not a great fight for Stephano, I don't feel. I feel very one-sided towards Strange. It doesn't really feel as though Strange has to rebuild much at all, where Stephano is rebuilding everything. Corruptors, 17 more Infestors. This is not really the way in which you... I don't know, this is just not working out for him. I'm still surprised by the Infestor count rather than going into just so many more Corruptors. As you see, Hydra's Infestors still just sat down in the center here. Brewers are going to be sat overhead as well, and another 12 cannons just been added on, 13 cannons being added on, which is very far south side. Hydra's going to push on in and see this pylon. It's going to get taken down, we'll power a couple of cannons initially. Should be more cannons on the way up though, right? Surely. Must be. Probes are going to run on forwards now. Start their crusade against these Spore Crawlers. I mean, obviously, basically, Strange doesn't want these probes any longer, so he just wants to trade them out. Not even trade them out, he just wants to get rid of them, so he sends them across the map. And Stephano, I mean, he has to do something, because otherwise the probes are going to kill the spores. He has to kill them, even if he doesn't want there to be more army supply on the map for the Cross player. As you see, spores just pushing forwards again. Remember, Stephano was the one who let this go into this sort of situation in the first place. He was the one who opened Hydroling Bait, but never utilized that aggressive, the aggressive potential of that army in any way, shape, or form. So he's the one that really allowed this to escalate into what it is right now. which is this crazy 25-minute game, and we do now see this base taken down here. 25 minutes, we're about on time, I guess, of like another 10 minutes to take that base. The problem is with Stephano, he's not trading efficiently, and if he's not trading efficiently, he needs more bases than his opponent. Right now, he does not have more bases than his opponent because Strange has established this southern base down here, so pushing towards them. But Stephano has really killed for a while. It has just been cannons. How many cannons have died this game? 42. Stephano just grabbed a fungal growth there, but again, he runs forwards into Corruptors, and there's only 9 or 10 of them. Like, how is that ever possibly going to kill this? I mean, again, I guess this is kind of nice right now, throwing down Neuroparasites and fungal growths as well. The Infestors are sort of struggling to move forwards far enough. The thing is, the army of Strange is, well, I guess it's being dragged in towards all of these Spore Crawlers. This is a very messy fight. I don't even really know what to say about it. I think Strange still comes out of this ahead. He's getting more Stalkers here. I think one of the bigger issues is there just isn't anything to actually fight on the ground for Stephano anymore. So against like a ground-based army, he doesn't really have much of an answer. Another fungal growth, and he still has energy on some of these Infestors right now. As you see, Mothership 4 again is just coming on forwards. He's going to Neuroparasite once more. Is there detection? Oh, there's no detection for Strange. So the Mothership 4 being on the side of Stephano is actually somewhat useful. As we're going to see him now, will take that down. Well, Stephano has somehow pulled out ahead in supply. And he still has a bank. I am so surprised. The actual issue for Strange is that maybe he's built too many cannons throughout this game, because he's actually got a lot of gas. But he is extremely, extremely tight on minerals at the moment. Only 250 minerals. I wonder if he has just overbuilt cannons throughout this game. I think it's very weird to see this sort of situation as... Jesus, man, StarCraft does not have any good time today at all. I think it's very weird to see this sort of situation continue to... Well, I really don't know. Like, I feel as though the cannons are just so expensive. 150 minerals apiece. He's lost 44. And he has, still on the map, 59. So he's had, what? 103 cannons? At 150 minerals each? He's spent 15,000 minerals. Right? 15,000 minerals on cannons throughout this game. That's a hell of a lot of cannons. That's a hell of a lot of minerals. I mean, 15,000 is like... Is like more than a base, right? He's spent more than an entire base of minerals on cannons. I mean, I know Stephano's got a lot of spores as well, but 43. The spores are cheaper than cannons too. I do just wonder, I think the cannons may be the thing that loses Strange this game, because if Stephano can take another fight reasonably similar to the last one, but I guess Stephano is also running out of gas. It's a very weird situation between the players. Very weird situation between the players. Void's going to keep on pushing forward. We see the Void's going to pop his back alignment. Nice. One more growth. Shouldn't really be engaging the Void Rays as the, as if his Michael alignment was on. I don't think. I think he should wait a bit longer. Whoa! Broodlord's taking a heavy hit right there. As we do see Neuroparasites dropping down once more. Carriers are going to be caught and everything. Void Rays too, just trying to target down whatever. I think there's more of this army which belongs to Stephano right now than Strange. As we do see the carriers being pulled further forward, so you can get another nice neural on them. Fungal growth still being dropped as well. Spores are going to start targeting down the Protoss army, and I believe Strange is just not going to have enough to stay in this. Hydras have gotten rid of a lot of the interceptors. The carriers are pretty much just dead weight in terms of supply. And Stephano is going to make this happen in game number 1. I didn't think this was the right composition. I didn't think this was going to work. Oh wow, warping in Zealots. That's when you know you're desperate. When you warp in like 16 Zealots in a late game situation like this. Absolutely crazy stuff. From being like 8,000 resources lost behind, we're now 49k to 49k lost. With Stephano with the better standing army. Especially because again, I think so many of those minerals mined from the Strange are just invested into cannons. 7 Archons warping in. But I mean, there's so many investors right now, he could literally neural like the entire Protoss army. And if he neurals the 7 Archons, those Zealots are just going to absolutely melt, so this isn't great. Stephano too wants to apparently get rid of some drones because he just doesn't have anywhere to mine from any longer. He actually is more or less mined out, and he is only on the very last little bits of gas. And that's why this base down here became very important. This really was a war of attrition until the very end. There's still a lot more Archons. I mean, this army of Strange is dangerous and scary, but in a completely different way to before. You're going to see Stephano moving in another couple of Broods. And Broods are definitely the right answer at this point of the game. I mean, against this many Archons, Broodlords and enough of them will just be able to keep them at bay and stop them continue to push on forwards. here we go. So you see the army just pushing on in. You're going to see another infestor, well, just dropping a fungal. I think the answer for Stephano here is just going to be slow and steady. He's got a lot of links he can use as well, which honestly against the Zealot Archon is not a terrible idea. There's just going to see Neuroparasite start to drop down. The Archons will start to turn on Strange once again. I mean, the Brutals as well. I just don't know if there's enough Archons to... I mean, just how do you get underneath the Archons? You just don't. You really, really don't. GG's 30-minute game goes the way of Stephano. Game what? To say. Alright, let's do this, guys. Let's go in game. Introduce these guys. I mean, if we get another 30-minute game, which is it's possible on Proxima, if these guys play the same way, it's possible. And to be fair, like Stephano, if he wins that last game, of course he might want to play the same way. From Strange's perspective, maybe he felt confident and he messed up, and he knows why he messed up, so he plays the same. Or maybe he feels though he doesn't want to go that way again. He wants to try and end this a little bit faster. Either way, bottom left-hand side, our pink Zerg player from Meltdown is Stephano. He is going up against the red Protoss player top right-hand side from Psystorm Gaming. It is Strange. Stephano going to be throwing down. Hatchery on the low ground. I'm just going to see the probe coming across the map as well. In the early stages of PvZ again. It's been a while since we said this because that was a long game, but this is going to be a nice slow startup as GL. HF is called by Stephano. Obviously doesn't know Strange's name because oftentimes he likes to say GLHF Bob or whatever the name of his opponent is. Thank you very much, by the way. Sorry, I missed. I forgot before the break, and then I saw during the break, and I was going to make sure I mentioned it, and I didn't make it. I didn't mention it. I failed a lot. Thank you very much, Faith SC, for the 9-month resub. Coming through 9 months. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. It says, thanks for finally getting great emotes, Wardy. Well, thank you very much for continuing to support the stream. Just think. All your months of subscribing, and you finally have emotes. Real life emotes. Incredible. Even I can't really believe it. Thank you very much for the 90s months, dude. Can we see some love in the chat, please, for Faith? And, now just, waiting to continue. I mean, Twilight Council is on the way down. So as this Twilight Council comes into play, we're just going to be seeing, obviously, a very different startup from Strange compared to the Stargate we saw in game number 1. Now, he didn't really do too much off the Stargate. 1 Oracle, 1 Phoenix. So this time he's just going to bypass that, go straight to the Twilight Council, and go straight in towards, most likely, go straight in towards the Resonant Glaives, I would say. So, Twilight finishes up, and Robo comes down to you, and I just see a Dark Shrine then. Also a possibility. Bit of a later Robo for Dark Shrine, but we shall see soon as he builds up the, when he is just going to be Glaives. Yeah, I think if a bit of a later Robo, the Glaives makes more sense. Because otherwise you want the Robo on time to make sure your Dark Shrine comes down on time, and then to make sure you can warp in at the right time ASAP to make the most of the TTs before you morph them into Archons and go into that very standard Archon drop. So this is just going to be some Glaive Adept pressure, obviously with the Robo facility. He's going to be able to drop around with the Prism and continue the kind of Adept harassment to kind of a higher level, a higher quality than what it might usually be. So sign up into this. We're going to be seeing the Robo just finishing up now. And 3 gates right now. And he is going to go Dark Shrine as well. So it's going to be Wave 1 of Pressure, Resonating Glaive Adept, into Wave 2 of Pressure, Dark Templar. So 2 opportunities here for Strange to take a lead, find something to put him into an advantage in the early stages. As that Prism just about halfway done right now on this Robo. 2 Assimilators coming up to the side of the natural expansion as well. And as these Lings run on in from Stephano, they're going to get blocked quite heavily by this Adept at the front. So Adept does some body blocking. And there is indeed the Prism. As you warp in the first Adepts here, he does just going to lift those up instantly. And again, Dark Shrine is not too far behind this as Stephano goes into the Bane nest, gets ready to defend. I mean, what Stephano's seen so far? Absolutely nothing, so he needs to make sure he has the units out to defend this, and I think he's starting to realize that as well. He's got Lings building, especially because he hasn't seen, he hasn't seen an Oracle or anything like that just yet. So I think, having not seen an Oracle or anything, he knows that's going to be very important for him to probably, have some units up, because if it's not an Oracle in Stargate, it is going to be something a bit more aggressive on the ground in the very near future. So it's a good read by Stephano overall. He also has spores in the mineral lines too to keep him well protected against the Dark Templar. So the only thing he has to make sure of now is that he doesn't have all of a sudden 4 DTs running in without any units nearby. You can see that Strange is actually just going to morph into Archons. Strange, is he going to take the third base? I think he is. I think that's what this probe is for now. For a couple of moments there, I was like, are you just going to warp in more gates and get aggressive? Because that's what this first attack right here looks like. Here we go. Lings and Banes are going to try and wrap around. Obviously, the Prism is here to try and evacuate some units out. And the Banes getting used very effectively, actually. Coming down and just kind of saving them until he saw the Adepts dropping back out of the Warp Prism. It was a very nice play, and Strange is able to get away with the 2 Archons, but it's a very good defense by Stephano right from the get-go. Very solid defense indeed. 4 more gates coming up. This might be a bit of a fake third Nexus. Or third Nexus to fall back to. I don't really know, actually, because I mean 8 gates is very aggressive. Maybe he just felt as though he needed some extra defense before he threw down the third. I don't know, though. I mean, it's only a slight difference between them. He could have gone third and then walled off at the front of the gates. There's choices. There is indeed choices. Spinecrawler is on the way up now from Stephano at the front, just helping him to set up defensively. He has added on a few more drones. His lair now halfway done. 4 Archons will be obviously very tough at the front, and as we see 8 Adepts being able to warp in that time, this attack's going to get very aggressive very soon, and Stephano will see this attack from quite a distance with the creep, so now he knows about it for sure. He's going to start morphing a whole bunch more Banelings, 15 of them on the way. Obviously no Banelings because he doesn't have a lair yet. His Spines are going to finish morphing in just in time to help out, and we're actually going to see him just going to start moving right towards this right away. The first Bane hits are going to be absolutely devastating. We see a lot of the initial Adepts getting taken down, but he needs more Banes, which he does have ready. 28 more Lings on the way as well. Queen's still alive, by the way. Some of them on very low health. He's done a very good job of pulling back at the right time to make the most of this, and Strange is just going to be completely shut down. Stephano, an impeccable defense. Doesn't lose a Spine, doesn't lose the Queens. Absolutely brilliant. I mean, it doesn't really get that much better than that, right? I mean, resources lost is very even. Obviously, Stephano is up 10 workers. He's been, yes, Strange has a third Nexus. He has a base he can utilize here and kind of fall back to. But it's a super good defense from Stephano, and he should be feeling really great about this, because one thing that Strange won't have is further tech. You don't just warp in off of 8 gates, loads of Adepts again and again, to then not to have like any sort of follow-up, Let's see if Forge is going to be finishing in a few moments as Observer just flies on forwards. The Spanish is poking a little bit further out now as he looks to also defend his 4th base in the near future from any future attacks rather than just the 3 bases which he was on previously. With the lair finished as well, we're starting to see a new wave of upgrades, which is going to be the Bane speed, the Hydra speed as well. The Hydra Den haven't finished up now. The +2 melee is also able to start pretty much the exact same game plan from Stephano now in Game 2 as what he had in Game 1. And so I guess the most important question really coming in here is probably going to be, does he go late game again, or is he going to be way more aggressive this time around? Because Proxima is not an easy map to be aggressive on, but it is possible. I think that decision is going to be made for him. A lot of Adepts moving across the map, the Archon here as well. The Prism will loop back around and just continue to help to reinforce as Strange is just going to go for one more push. He's just going to open a couple more Archons, but again, Lingbane Hydra should be so good against this composition. I love the fact that Stephano is getting a lot of Hydras out. He's going to have 20 ready to deal with this as he's going to see this right now. Immediately Queen start to fall backwards. I think Stephano's right to just wait for the next round of Hydras to come in and just join up here, because they're going to be a massive help. The initial couple of Archons are very much so on their own, by the way. Bane's crashing on in towards these Adepts. A lot of them are going to shade by in towards the mineral line, which segregates them from the Archons, which means they are very, very exposed, and they're just going to get absolutely destroyed. Shading through like this, I mean, he kills 20 drones. What does it matter if you lose your entire army? He doesn't. I mean, now Stephano is actually quite free to run up because he's not under any further pressure. And I think he knows he isn't. As we're going to be seeing the couple of Archons just continue to pull back in towards the third base here. Strange. Still with some depths and a couple of these sentries out the front. And well, there's the Banelings morphing in all over again. +1 missile attack is on the way down from Stephano. That's about to finish up. He's got +2 melee already. And again, I think Stephano knows as well as we do that he's got a great lead in this game. He knows how aggressive his opponent's been. He knows how it's going to be the best choice just to attack forwards and just to end this game in the near future, rather than letting it go on too much further. Wings and Hydra's going to get rid of these rocks. As the rocks go down, again, just going to have access towards this army. And I mean, what do you do is Strange. I mean, you barely have any units. You do have a few couple of roam charges available, which might help. You've really got nothing going for yourself. This Overlord's block on the 4th base, so this probe won't be able to do anything. And yeah, it's not a pretty situation or a pretty position for Stephano to move in towards. And a few force fields come down, but the Banes, there's just too many of them, and they do start to move their way forwards. Another nice couple of force fields, but now the mineral line gets blown up. And it means that Stephano is able to take game number 2 of this best of 3 series, and it's 2-0.